Imagine you're about to take your last breath. What would be your final meal? Now picture this, a single olive with the pit still in it. Why would someone choose such a peculiar and seemingly insignificant item as their last earthly pleasure? In today's video, we're diving deep into the minds of death row inmates and their bizarre last meal requests. From the eerily simple to the shockingly extravagant, these choices offer a haunting glimpse into their final moments. Stay with me as we unravel the stories behind these unsettling requests. Each meal tells a chilling tale, revealing the dark and twisted paths that led these individuals to their ultimate fate. Brace yourselves, because what you're about to hear will leave you questioning the very nature of humanity. Our first story takes us to the cell of Victor Feger, a man whose final request was as perplexing as it was haunting. His choice left many baffled, and it continues to be a topic of intrigue and speculation. As the guards approached him, they couldn't help but wonder, why a single olive with the pit still in it? It was an unusual request, one that seemed to carry a deeper meaning. Victor, convicted of kidnapping and murder, had a peculiar reason for his choice. His life had been marked by violence and crime, yet in his final moments, he sought something different. He believed that by consuming the olive, a symbol of peace, it would grow into an olive tree from within his grave, a final act of redemption. This belief was rooted in ancient symbolism, where the olive tree represents peace, hope, and new beginnings. As the guards handed him the olive, they were struck by the eerie calmness in his eyes. It was as if he had made peace with his fate, and this small act was his way of leaving a mark. He slowly ate the olive, savoring each bite as if it held the key to his salvation. Each chew seemed deliberate, a ritualistic act that carried the weight of his hopes and regrets. The pit he carefully placed in his shirt pocket, a silent promise of what he hoped would come. It was a small, almost insignificant object, yet it held a world of meaning for him. The symbolism of the olive pit is both unsettling and profound. It represents a seed of hope, a potential for growth and change, even in the darkest of places. It speaks to a man seeking peace in his final moments, despite the chaos he caused in life. His actions had left a trail of pain and suffering, yet he clung to the hope that this small gesture could make a difference. But was it truly redemption he sought, or was it a final act of defiance against the inevitable? Was he trying to make a statement, or was he genuinely seeking peace? As the executioner prepared the lethal injection, Victor's last words echoed through the chamber, "I hope this will bring peace." His voice was calm, almost serene, as if he had finally found the peace he was looking for. The room fell silent, the weight of his words hanging heavy in the air. It was a moment of reflection for everyone present, a reminder of the complexities of human nature. Victor Feger's story leaves us with a chilling question. Can a single act, even as simple as eating an olive, truly absolve a lifetime of sins? Or is it merely a symbolic gesture, a way to find personal peace in the face of inevitable death? Or was it merely a desperate grasp at a peace that would forever elude him? In the end, we are left to ponder the true meaning of his final act and the legacy he left behind. If you found this story intriguing, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Victor Feger's final act and what it means to you. Next, we turn our attention to John Wayne Gacy, a man whose name is synonymous with terror. His story is one that continues to haunt the annals of criminal history. Known as the Killer Clown, Gacy's crimes were as gruesome as they were numerous. He lured his victims with a facade of friendliness, only to reveal the true horror that lay beneath. Yet, his last meal request was shockingly mundane, a full bucket of KFC fried chicken. This choice was as perplexing as it was revealing. Gacy, once a manager of 3 KFC restaurants, had a deep connection to the fast food chain. It was a part of his life before his descent into infamy. As he sat in his cell, awaiting his final moments, the familiar taste of fried chicken was perhaps a twisted comfort, a reminder of a life before the darkness consumed him. It was a stark contrast to the grim reality of his situation. The guards watched in silence as Gacy devoured the chicken, each bite a stark contrast to the horrors he had inflicted. The scene was surreal, almost as if time had momentarily paused. The normalcy of the meal was unsettling, a bizarre juxtaposition to the monstrous acts he had committed. It was a chilling reminder of the duality of human nature. As he finished his meal, Gacy's demeanor remained disturbingly calm. It was as if he had accepted his fate, yet remained unrepentant. He wiped his hands, a grotesque echo of the countless times he had done so before, but this time, it was different. This time, it was a final act in a life filled with darkness. This time, it was the last. The finality of the moment hung heavy in the air, a somber end to a life of unimaginable horror. The chilling normalcy of Gacy's request forces us to confront a terrifying reality. Even the most monstrous individuals cling to the mundane in their final moments. It is a stark reminder of the thin line between normalcy and evil. But what does that say about the nature of evil? Is it something that can be hidden beneath a veneer of normalcy, waiting to be unleashed at any moment? Is it hidden beneath a veneer of normalcy, waiting to be unleashed? The thought is as unsettling as it is profound, forcing us to question our own perceptions of good and evil. As the lethal injection took effect, Gacy's last words were a final act of defiance: "Kiss my ass." It was a chilling end to a life marked by unimaginable cruelty. The room was left in stunned silence, the weight of his words a haunting reminder of the darkness that lurks within. It was a moment that would be remembered for its eerie normalcy and the profound questions it raised about the nature of evil. For our next story, we delve into the opulent request of Timothy McVeigh, the man behind the Oklahoma City bombing. His actions left a scar on the nation, and his final moments were marked by a stark contrast between his crimes and his last meal. His last meal was a stark contrast to the grim reality of his fate, a lavish feast including steak, lobster, apple pie, and ice cream. This extravagant request was granted, despite the heinous nature of his crimes. As the guards brought in the extravagant spread, they couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The juxtaposition of such luxury in a place of punishment was unsettling. The opulence of the meal seemed almost obscene given the devastation McVeigh had caused. It was a reminder of the stark contrasts in life, luxury and suffering, indulgence and punishment. But for McVeigh, it was a final act of indulgence, a fleeting pleasure before the end. He approached the meal with a calm demeanor, as if savoring each bite could somehow make up for the horrors he had inflicted. He ate with a calm precision, savoring each bite as if it were his last, because it was. Each mouthful was a moment of escape from the reality of his impending execution. The richness of the steak, the tenderness of the meat, was a stark contrast to the cold, hard reality of his cell. The sweetness of the pie, a reminder of simpler, more innocent times, perhaps a fleeting memory of a life before his descent into infamy. The cold, creamy ice cream, each sensation was a stark reminder of the life he was about to leave behind. It was a sensory experience that stood in sharp contrast to the emotional numbness of his final days. The contrast between the feast and the execution chamber was jarring. The room where he would meet his end was sterile and somber, a far cry from the indulgence of his last meal. The luxurious meal seemed out of place in the sterile, somber environment, a grotesque reminder of the humanity that still existed within a man capable of such inhuman acts. It was a final, twisted indulgence in a life marked by violence and death. As McVeigh finished his meal, he leaned back, a satisfied expression on his face. It was as if in those final moments he found a semblance of peace, a fleeting comfort in the face of his impending fate. It was a chilling sight, a man who had caused so much pain, finding comfort in his final moments through a lavish feast. The image of him savoring his last meal was a haunting reminder of the complexities of human nature. His last words, "I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul," echoed through the chamber, a haunting declaration of his unrepentant nature. These words, borrowed from a famous poem, were a final assertion of his control over his destiny. The room fell silent, the weight of his words a chilling reminder of the darkness that can reside within. The silence was heavy, filled with the unspoken thoughts of those who witnessed his final moments. Our next tale centers around Ronnie Lee Gardner, a man whose last meal request was as odd as it was minimalistic, a single unpitted cherry. The simplicity of the request left the guards puzzled, but for Gardner it held a deeper meaning. Gardner, convicted of murder, had spent years reflecting on his actions. The cherry, a symbol of life's fleeting nature, was his way of acknowledging the brevity of existence. As he held the cherry in his hand, he seemed to be contemplating the fragility of life. He ate the cherry slowly, savoring its sweetness, the pit a reminder of the bitter consequences of his actions. The minimalism of the request was unsettling, a stark contrast to the complexity of his crimes. As the guards watched, they couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The simplicity of the cherry seemed almost too profound, a silent acknowledgement of the life Gardner had led, and the fate that awaited him. In his final moments, Gardner's demeanor was one of quiet resignation. His last words, "I am ready to go," were a chilling acceptance of his fate, a stark reminder of the finality of death. The story of Ronnie Lee Gardner leaves us with a haunting question. Can a single cherry truly encapsulate the essence of a life filled with darkness? Or was it merely a final act of defiance, a way to control the uncontrollable? Our final story brings us to the cell of Aileen Wuornos, a woman whose life was marked by violence and tragedy. Her last meal request was stark and simple: a single black coffee. The choice was as dark and bitter as her life had been. Wuornos, convicted of multiple murders, had a tumultuous life filled with abuse and hardship. The black coffee, a symbol of her harsh reality, was a fitting end to her tragic story. As she sipped the coffee, the bitterness seemed to mirror the pain she had endured. The guards watched in silence as Wuornos drank her coffee, each sip a reminder of the life she was about to leave behind. The starkness of the request was unsettling, a final acknowledgement of the darkness that had consumed her. In her last moments, Wuornos remained defiant. Her final words, "I'll be back," were a chilling declaration, a haunting promise of her return. The room fell silent, the weight of her words a stark reminder of the darkness that can reside within. The story of Aileen Wuornos leaves us with a haunting question. Can a single cup of coffee truly encapsulate the essence of a life filled with pain and suffering? Or was it merely a final act of defiance, a way to control the uncontrollable? If you found this story intriguing, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. We have more unbelievable stories coming your way. As we reflect on these strange and unsettling last meal requests, we're left with more questions than answers. Each request, whether simple or extravagant, offers a haunting glimpse into the minds of those facing their final moments. What drives a person to choose a single olive, a bucket of fried chicken, or a cup of black coffee as their last earthly pleasure? Is it a final act of defiance, a desperate grasp at normalcy, or a profound acknowledgement of their fate? These stories remind us of the darkness that can reside within, and the chilling reality of life and death. As you go about your day, remember these tales and the haunting questions they leave behind. What would your final meal be, and what does it say about you? If you found these stories intriguing, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments below.